Hello, my name's Braden, and welcome to Music Philosophy, the show where I dive deep into all sorts of musical questions. In this video, we're talking about dynamics. Now, dynamics, of course, tell us how loud something should be played, and they range from pianissimo, very quiet, to fortissimo, very loud. So here's the question. This method of notating dynamics was sort of around for a while, but it wasn't used regularly until the late 1700s, where it was pretty much immediately expanded upon. The Romantic period started throwing in triple Ps, triple Fs, and then Tchaikovsky shows up and throws in like 6 Ps, 5 Fs. If this system was unsatisfactory from the beginning, why is it still the system we use today? And could we do better?
Music Philosophy.
I feel like the biggest issue with this system is relatively straightforward. There's just not enough options. We only have 6 choices, so if you're composing for a full orchestra with tons of instruments over an hour's worth of music, it's pretty obvious why you might want more than 6 volume levels. And this is what I feel Tchaikovsky was doing when he wrote these extreme dynamics. Pianissimo is sort of colloquially defined as soft as possible. It's pretty unlikely that Tchaikovsky meant for players to play much more softly than possible. That would be kind of crazy, and clearly he knew what he was doing. Instead, maybe he was just using a different scale, with the same minimum and maximum, but more granularity between them. Now, I think this was a great idea, and it certainly gave Tchaikovsky more control over the dynamics in his symphonies. But look at it, it's hideous. But what if we took this idea further? What if instead of Ps and Fs, we wrote numbers from 1 to 100? 1 being the quietest, 100 being the loudest. Would that be a better system? This is like my knee-jerk reaction, just like initial idea, but it's not a very good one for some very key reasons. Reason number 1, at some point we're being needlessly pedantic. What is the difference between playing at an 83 and an 84? It's probably not even perceivable, and you're controlling your musicians to a point where it's inorganic. Music has to change based on the venue, the audience, the context, the musicians, just the day sometimes. You have to let your musicians make their own decisions. Reason number 2, we already have numbers everywhere. Tempo, time signature, measure numbers, numbers defining tuplets, even sometimes fingerings. Adding more numbers to the score will likely be confusing. And let's remember that in many situations where sheet music is being used, it's actively being read. So it's important that musicians can see all the information quickly and clearly. Reason number 3, numbers imply definite volumes. This is almost getting into like human psychology, but if you imagine your TV, the volume probably goes from like 0 to 100 or whatever. No matter what, 33 is always 33. Nothing else matters. 33 is a definite volume. That's what I feel like would happen if we were to use numbers. They're just too definite. We would have an internal feeling of what 33 feels like, and every time we saw a 33, we would play exactly that way. And this is why we use words in dynamics. They're Italian words, but they're still words. Mezzo forte does not mean one definite value. It means moderately loud. It's a suggestion and not a demand, and it allows the musician to decide how loud is moderately loud based on the situation they're in. So, a perfect dynamic system would have to, A, have a happy medium between having enough options but not being overly specific, B, be quick and easy to read on a sheet of music, and C, give the musicians room to make their own decisions. And, well, the original system kind of fits that description. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's hard to imagine something better. Not only does it accomplish all of these things, but it's also expandable in a way that doesn't need to be explained. If you put 8 Fs, an octuple forte, that's not some new symbol I'm gonna have to learn. I already know it's just really loud. Really loud. I got it. Easy. So, fine, maybe we don't need to create a whole new system from scratch, but surely there's some improvements we could make, because this is hideous. Okay, so maybe we could collapse this to this, with a little number in front that tells us how many. It would certainly clean up this page, and I don't think it would necessarily be bad. But you are adding yet another thing that a sight reader might have to process. As it stands, the length of these dynamic symbols could be used as a tool to help them be read quickly. But I doubt that the change would cause much hindrance in practice, and it does maintain the quality of being easily expandable. For instance, if instead of this, I show you this, you still know it means to play really loud. But I don't think it's really worth changing. Sure, it might look a little nicer on this page specifically, but for the vast majority of cases, it's not going to matter at all. So I think we've sort of arrived at the answer of my original question. But I do have some things I would like to suggest about dynamics in rapid-fire fashion. I've found it useful to add a marking between mezzo piano and mezzo forte that we've just called mezzo in the past. It doesn't really make sense in the Italian language, it just means moderately. Moderately what? I don't know. But it makes sense in the context of music, and it's been pretty useful to have a nice middle of the spectrum. We haven't talked about crescendos or any of that in this video yet, but if you're using the word crescendo or diminuendo instead of these hairpins,
stop it. Get some help.
Hairpins are better in every way. That's a hot take, I don't care. Hairpins forever, they're better in every way except for formatting and Sibelius. Adding on to hairpins, we should be able to shape them in the way we want them played. So this is a linear crescendo, but this is a sort of bell curve crescendo, where most of the growth happens at the end. And again, the only issue would be notating in Sibelius. Alright, so what is my conclusion here? This is off the rails. I walked into this video hoping to come up with some interesting replacement for the dynamic system that would be maybe better in some way. Obviously, I'm not trying to actually change how this works. I just thought it'd be fun. But instead what I've realized is that the existing dynamic system is plenty good enough. Yeah, sometimes as a composer I feel like I need more control over my dynamics, but in practice, musicians understand what you mean. You don't need any more than these 6 or maybe 8 symbols. The reason the composers of the past never felt to reinvent the dynamic system is simply because it wasn't worth it. There's no clear, better alternative to move to, so let it be. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know? I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed to the channel and left a like or comment. I've been on a bit of a hiatus, but I am going to make a video like this every week again because I like making videos and I'm tired of not making videos, so we're gonna do it. Also, since most of you are likely musicians, I need background music. If you want me to use your music in my videos, send me an email at oddlymetered@gmail.com. The only requirement is it should be instrumental, and I will always credit you if I use your music. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.